Just started this old girl up and she's purring like a kitten now, almost 220,000 miles. She's had some work done to her and there's more to go, but at least the engine is running fantastic now. So we got that part squared away, seems like. Who knows? This engine might have another 250,000 miles in it. Yeah, so we got the old girl running pretty good now. The issue with it, which was the thing that was causing it to have that misfire in it, is a little bit complicated, or not really complicated so much as just, multiple things were kind of causing this. Basically, at some point over the truck's life, somebody had been in here working on it, and not only did they strip out some of the retaining screws that hold the coil packs in securely, but they also managed to break some of the wiring harness connectors, the little tabs on there that, when you stick the wiring harness down onto the coil pack, it snaps into place. They broke a few of those. So those, the ones that were broken, you could actually just grab the wiring harness connector and it would just slide on and off. So there was no way that it was making a good connection. So my dad went in here and he drilled out the holes in the valve cover that accept those screws and put some larger screws in there so they would take a bite and make a new thread. Also went ahead and put 8 fresh spark plugs in here, 8 fresh coil packs, Denso coil packs made in the USA, by the way. And then he found some of the little coil pack wire harness connectors off of an engine in the junkyard and cut those off and soldered them into place on here. So now all the coil packs are brand new, the plugs are brand new, everything is seated firmly so the coil packs aren't wobbling around when it's going down the road, and all of the connections are making a good solid fit. And once we did that and cleared the codes out of it, it started running pretty good. So, it's still got a little bit of a rough idle, but with 220,000 miles on the clock, it gets a pass on that, right? So as long as it's running good, and it is, running pretty good. So got this 5.4 Triton going again. Next thing is going to be the transmission. It's got quite a bad shudder in it, and it almost feels like the torque converter is getting kind of, ready to give up the ghost, as they say. But, it's cheap to try this, so we're going to try this first. We're going to put a brand new transmission filter in there. We're not going to power flush it with this amount of miles on it because that could be bad for it. But we will just drop the pan, put a new filter in it, and then fill it back up with some Ford specified transmission fluid, because who knows what kind of transmission service this thing has had over the years, and if they used the correct fluid or not. I did pull the dipstick, and the fluid looks like it's still got that reddish, rose-colored tint to it, so it's not burnt or anything, but it could just be the wrong fluid. Who knows? So, like I said, we'll put a new filter in it and some fresh Mercon 5 and see what happens. And then the other thing is the drive shaft has a clunk in it. These Ford trucks, the Ranger and the F-150 both, back in the 2000s were pretty notorious for that. And some of the technical service bulletins that were coming out, I remember because I had a couple of those trucks, what they would want you to do is just take the drive shaft out and grease those splines real good. And they actually had a specific grease they wanted you to use on those. But once you grease up those splines and then push it back up in the yoke, usually that clunk would go away. So we may do that, give us a good opportunity to inspect the U-joint while we're back there also. Probably we'll go ahead and drain the rear diff, clean the magnet off, put some fresh fluid in it. Just some, maintenance that probably should have been done a long time ago. We'll probably go ahead and do that. But yeah, we'll get that knocked out here in the next week or so. And then I think the drive line on this truck will be in pretty good shape for its age and mileage. So the interior will then be done and the drive line will soon be done. And I guess the next thing we'll start working on, which I'm actually getting ready to start on here tonight, is the exterior. Kind of clean it up a little bit. I noticed that the keypad on the door over here, Fords were pretty commonly, they came with that electronic keypad on the door, so you could punch a code in to get into the truck or lock the truck. Really handy feature, actually. Well, the 0 and 1 button on here does not work. So I'm trying to track down a keypad to replace this one with. All the other buttons work, 2 through 9. Or maybe it's the 1, 2 button. Anyway, there's, you know, all the buttons there on the door handle. The first button doesn't work. So I may try to track down one of those and swap it out. The dealership did pull the code for me, so I know what the code is. I just got to fix that keypad. The other thing that's super common on these trucks, really any vehicles back, you know, in the 2000s, was that the headlights get glazed over like this. They just didn't have very good UV protection back in those days. And so you always ended up getting this frosted over look. And I will tell you, when you drive this truck at night, you can't see anything. I mean, the headlights being halogen lights, you know, obviously they're a lot weaker than what I've gotten used to with LEDs. But even for what they are, these things are not really shining on the road very brightly at all. A lot of it's probably just because of this terrible glazing that you see here. This one's particularly bad. I mean, you can't even hardly look in there and see the reflector anymore on that one. So anyway, I bought a kit. I'm going to attempt to restore these. If it doesn't work, I don't mind buying new headlights, but the OE headlights are always going to function better than the cheap Chinese aftermarket stuff you find on Amazon. So it's worth it, I think, to try and clean these up and see what happens. So let me show you the kit that I got. It has really good reviews. Hopefully it'll work. This kit's the 3M Ultra headlight. Ooh, it's not focusing. Restoration kit. Anyway, what they give you in the kit, you got a rubber glove here that you're going to use when you put the clear coat on. That's the final step. So we're going to put that aside for now. That's the last thing that we do. So to start with, you've got this sanding wheel that you can put onto your electric drill, and that'll save you a lot of elbow work. They give you the 500 grit, 800 grit, and then the 3000 grit finishing pad here. You can see that one to sand the headlights down with and clean them up. And then at the end, like I said, you'll put this clear coat on there. So this is really handy because, like I said, you can just pop that into any drill. Could be cordless or corded, doesn't matter, electric drill. Put that in there and then you can knock this out really quickly. They also give you some tape. So that's included in the kit to mask off around the headlights so you don't get into your paint. So that's pretty nice. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to hook all this up to the drill, tape off the headlights, and then we'll start sanding. And we will see how it looks when we get done. This camera, for some reason, doesn't like to always focus, but I think you can kind of see the condition that these are in right now. So let's see what happens. All right, so I'm going to kind of do this video, do a lot of it anyway, in real time so that you guys can see how long this doesn't take. If you get the kit that does not have the attachment for your drill, then it probably will take you longer because, like I said, then you got to do everything manually. So if you've got an electric drill, heck, even if you don't have an electric drill, buy the kit that uses a drill and then go to Harbor Freight and get one of these. I mean, this was $18 at Harbor Freight. I've been using it for 2 or 3 years, and it's been pretty awesome. So this kit will make it a whole lot easier. So let's begin by getting one of these 500 grit pads. And we'll just stick our attachment in there. Make sure you tighten your chuck up nice and straight. All right, get a little dirt off of here. And then we'll just take this pad, center it down on there nice and neat. Nice and neat there. Now, the kit tells you, there's instructions included obviously, that what you're aiming for is about 1600 RPM. You don't want to go really fast with it because you'll burn the plastic, but you don't want to go real slow either because then it won't be effective. So around 1600 RPM is what they're looking for. Now, this particular drill, I don't really know how fast it's spinning. There's no way to know. So I'm just going to kind of, you know, do it the way that it seems like it's effective without burning the plastic. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So I'm going to start with this one over here because it seems to be the worst one. So you're just going to press on there nice and flat. Maybe you can see on the camera how it's already frosting that up. And that's what you want. You want it to get that frosty look to it. That's normal. Exactly what you're aiming for here. And you also don't want to stay in one spot. You want to keep moving it around, again, so that you don't burn the plastic. Now, in this kit, wearing that pad out pretty fast, but in the kit they give you several of these pads, so you may want to kind of distribute them, you know, break them up half and half so you can use them, you know, on both headlights obviously, but it might take you a few different pads to get it where you want it, and then obviously we're going to go to the 800 grit and do it for a little while. Let me get this one just a little bit more, and then I'll switch pads and then we'll come back. All right, so now we're going to wipe this down a little bit, and you're not going to see a whole lot of difference just from me wiping it, but just trying to get some of that excess dust off of there. And now it says we're going to go and try the 800 grit pad. I'm going to put one of these on here. And obviously this one's going to work it down a little bit finer. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to kind of go over this in a pattern. And you can really see this 800 grit one doing some serious work. So I'm going to work this out some more, and then we'll go to the other headlight and sand it out, and we'll do the finishing pad and the clear coat last. In here and try to get some images for you so you can kind of see what it looks like after we're finished here with the 800 grit. Still has that milky look to it, which is normal. The instructions said that it would be that way. Let me get out of the sunlight here. So it's kind of what you're after. We're just sanding, slowly sanding off the scale from the outside of the lens. So now the next step obviously is going to be to go to that finishing pad, and when you do that one, you're going to spray a little water on it. Whoa, almost fell down there. So the kit said, you know, here's the finishing pad. You're going to spray a little dirt on it. Don't want that. You're going to spray just a little bit of water on here just to get this damp, and go over the headlight lens again with this one. And this should really clean it up nice. All right, I'm finished with the 800 grit. So now the final step is to put this finishing pad on here, the 3000. And like I said, you're going to take this is just water. And we're just going to get that damp. And I'm going to spray just a little bit on the lens too. That might help. I want to keep this moist. And the instructions say that as you do this step, you'll start to see some gray, slurry kind of form on the lens, like a little bit of a gray sludge. Milky looking water is what it's going to look like, and then when you see that, you kind of know that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, I can definitely see that slurry, as they call it. The edges and the corners are the hard part to do. Let me get a rag here and wipe this down just a little bit and see what we got going on here. You can definitely tell that it looks a lot better. I'm going to do a little bit more and then I'll get you a close-up. So here's what this one looks like now that I've kind of finished it up. And you can see that it's not perfect, it's still cloudy looking. And if you run your hand over it, like I can feel right here, it's really smooth, but right down here it's rough. You can tell whether, where the scale and the buildup is still at on your headlight lens as you move your hand around here. So you can find very easily the spots that you can sand a little more if you want to. The instructions did say that on some of these headlights, if they're in really bad shape or they're really old, which this one is, it may take more than one kit to have enough sanding pads to really get this thing down to where you want it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it is a little bit better. This, like I said, it's still not perfect. It's still cloudy looking. I may sand this one a little bit more, but it is better than where it was. So, you just kind of have to look at it that way. You may not ever get this to look exactly like it did from the factory, but I think I'll sand on it a little bit more. You got to make sure you get it exactly where you're happy with it before you put the clear coat back on there, obviously. So, if I go over to this one though, you can see it's got a lot more of that scale and it's really rough feeling. When I run my fingers over this one, it's super rough, whereas this one is actually smoothing out quite a bit. So, I don't know. It is what it is. This is probably one of the better kits that you can buy to do this. So if I can't get these things looking really nice with it, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I think if I work on it a little bit more, it'll be okay. I feel like that this headlight over here turned out just a little bit better than that one. Of course, the sun glare is making that one look cloudy right now, but I worked this headlight out just a little bit more, and I think I got just a little bit more of the haze out of the lens on this one. So I'm going to go back over there and I'm going to work that one out a little more with the 800 and then hit it with the 3000 pad again, try to get it looking like this one. So again, it's not perfect. It's a 20-year-old truck almost with 220,000 miles on it. It's not going to look brand new again, but as you can see, it is quite a bit better. And this should put some more light out on the road at night, which is the important thing. I'm sure my son later on is going to probably want to put some aftermarket LED lights or something in this thing. But for now, it looks a little better. It's going to be a little safer. So, seems like a pretty good kit. I would recommend it. I like how they give you everything you need in here. I'm going to go over here and work on this one some more, and we'll try to finish this up. But I just wanted to show you this kit. Again, it's the 3M Ultra Headlight Restoration Kit. I bought it from Amazon, but I'm sure you can get it all kinds of different places. And gosh, this camera, there it is. I think it was about 20 bucks. Says it takes about 40 minutes. I'm probably going to have about 40 minutes in it when I get done. So there you go, guys. Another project for today. And then, like I said, we're getting a little closer on this thing. I mean, it's going to be a pretty good old truck when we get done. Especially for a 16-year-old boy. It's going to be a pretty nice ride. So a lot more to come. I'm going to get back to work, and we will talk to you guys later.